enough. But let's kick off with Oppenheimer. Let us kick off with Oppenheimer. This is Christopher Nolan doing this Christopher Nolan thing where he's gotten to the stage where he's like, I want to make a film about this. And whatever he's decided that he wants to make a film about, it will become event cinema. Because I feel like if anybody else has said, I want to make a film about the guy who invented the atomic bomb, and it's going to be about the science behind the bomb, and it's going to be about a whole bunch of men talking in rooms, and most of it is going to be in black and white, I can't think of any other filmmaker nowadays that A, would get away with it, and B, have it be a blockbuster and have everybody go, oh my god, this is going to be big, beside Christopher Nolan. And fair play to him. He's actually done that. So, I mean, that is the basic synopsis. This is about Oppenheimer. Sean, do you want to tell us about, so Oppenheimer, known as the father of the atomic bomb, anything else that you want to say about this?
Okay, so this film, it's quite funny, really, because I always thought Oppenheimer was a German that had come over from, sort of...
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize that he was just American. So,
not quite. He was not quite. His father was, I found out earlier today, was a German Jew. Both his parents. Yep. So he was one generation out.
Yeah, but he was born in America.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I mean. And I always thought he was one of the scientists that had come out of like Nazi Germany.
Like Einstein or Niels Bohr or any of those guys.
Someone like that. Yeah, that was my perception. I mean, I'm quite good at history, but that was all I knew about. That's what I thought I knew. So that was quite interesting. I guess most people would know the story about the making of the atomic bomb and what have you. That's quite interesting.
I was going to say that's the. I don't actually think many people do. I think many people know. I do not think many people know the fact that there was. People knew that there was an atomic bomb, but I don't think many people actually know about how it came about.
Right. Okay. So, all right. So, if they go to watch this movie, they'll probably see what happens. Basically, Oppenheimer is like a physicist, scientist.
Yep.
And he comes up with a theory. They say, no, this can't happen. He meets Einstein. They discuss theories and stuff, and he gets this little team around him. Oppenheimer gets this little team around him, all the best that they can think of, and he comes up with a theory. He's got this theory, and then they decide that they're going to put the theory into test. They're going to test this thing, which they don't know what's going to happen. Really, it's just all purely.
It's all pure because he's a theoretical physicist. So he just sits down there and he thinks about it, and they make a whole thing about how bad he is in the lab, that he doesn't like doing the practical stuff, that he just sort of sits there and he thinks. And I know people like this. I mean, Holly and I, we went to university with people like this.
Yeah. So, that's it. So we're talking to the. I mean, with the nuclear fission, fusion, and the hydrogen, I'm probably more up on that than I am with. But anyway, back to the movie. That's the basic story, is that it's making the atom bomb and the ultimate thing what happens. But you do get some cuts in between where there's like these congressional hearings.
Yes.
Which I found really quite interesting.
Yes.
And Robert Downey Jr. for about the first 3 minutes. I was thinking, I know him.
Who is that guy?
Oh my goodness. Who is that guy? So that was a good moment. And another thing, me with Cillian Murphy, I'm not a major fan. In this is the best I've seen him in. I
have to admit with that. This is the best I have seen. I was telling Superfan Nina earlier today, I was saying that this is the best I've ever seen Cillian Murphy be.
Yeah, definitely.
He is brilliant in this.
He is brilliant in this. In fact, I thought they all were. I thought they all did really well.
I think the cast did really well. I mean, even the women, because, and I say this because I think Florence Pugh. I have to admit that, Sean, I know that you've had a Florence Pugh thing for a while. You've had a Florence Pugh thing and I think the more films she does, the more I'm catching up with you and going, she is damn good. She is damn good. But I say especially the women, because Christopher Nolan is notorious for not writing good female characters. Christopher Nolan, it's like in his films, essentially, I remember when Tenet came out, I was having a chat with a friend, Seb, and I realized what it was. Christopher Nolan has always spoken about how much of a Bond fan he is. He loves Bond movies. And Tenet is pretty much his Bond movie. And I realized that Christopher Nolan, for him, his female characters, Bond girls, are his template for female characters. So all of the female characters he's written, the wife in Inception, the ones in the Dark Knight trilogy, they are all Bond girls. And they have as much agency and they have as Bond girls. And so the fact is that with this, it's better than he usually does with female characters. But even with because this is about the men and because of the time it was the men who were doing everything and were doing. But Florence Pugh as Jean, I can't remember her last name. And something like Tap. No, never mind. And Emily Blunt as Oppenheimer's wife.
Kitty.
Kitty. With the little that they have on screen, they're fully realized characters, and I think that is so down to the actors. So down to the actors that what they do. I mean, because this film is packed. This film has so many actors in it, so many good names.
It really does.
Yeah, there's even. I mean, you have Rami Malek in it, right? And for a long time in the film, for a long time in the film, I was like, are they really going to have Rami Malek? Bear in mind, this is Oscar-winning Rami Malek. Are they going to have Rami Malek in this film and not have him say a word? And for a long time, I was looking at it going, I think that's what Christopher Nolan's going to do. I think he's just going to have all these Oscar-winning people in the background, and they're not going to do anything. And there's scenes where Emily Blunt is just in the background, and she's very obviously in the background, just sitting down there saying nothing. But even then, I mean, I think she still brings something to it. I thought it was. I really, really, really enjoyed this film. I mean, and the fact that it doesn't feel like a biopic. It feels like, and it's over 3 hours long. But I don't know about you guys. I didn't feel the 3 hours because the film just kept moving. It was like, okay, he's a young scientist now. Okay, cool. That's it. We've got to go. And we've got to go.
Back to the actors. There's a guy, like, when they're having some hearings, but they have like a small hearing. It's not like a trial or nothing. There's one of the
Jason Clarke,
one of the actors in that. Right, okay. Really, that's. I'm like, not another one of these. I was waiting for Stanley Tucci to turn up, But anyway,
to make
so Jason Clarke's there, and he had a really good role as well. He was really, really a nasty, hateful, spiteful character.
No, Sean.
On the nose.
What is this? Is it an acting? Have everyone trying to prove me wrong?
No, but not even that. Sean, I'll tell you, I was watching it because, if you're regularly listening to this, you know that Sean has people who he just irrationally does not like. Stanley Tucci is one of them. Jason Clarke is another one. Sean does not like Jason Clarke. He's like, what is your problem, Jason Clarke? And so Sean does. And I was watching this film, and I was watching it, and I was watching the thing. It's like Jason Clarke has heard everything Sean has said about him, and he's playing this character in a way to make everybody else feel about him the way Sean feels about him. Because this character, but you're watching the film going, I do not like you. You are a horrible, horrible person. What the heck is your problem?
Vileness.
He's vile. He's vile.
I heard an interesting thing today from a colleague which you guys may well have heard, that apparently everybody had been cast but showed up not knowing which characters they were playing.
Oh.
So therefore, well, I think possibly, they knew they weren't Oppenheimer, but basically people had no idea. So they walked into this sort of collaborative space knowing they were collaborating.
Yeah.
But not knowing how they were going to be collaborating.
Yeah.
Which I thought was quite interesting, particularly as then I looked at that and thought, actually, they were all so good. You could sort of switch them round, and they'd still been great.
Yeah, I mean, there was a real, and I think, without getting a bit too sort of like, arty about it, I think there's a real thing, because that's how the scientists had to be. And they even make a big thing about the fact that the scientists had to collaborate because they were trying to do something that had never been done before. And I think that there's just a lot of good things. Like, Yes, Kemi, I can see. Well done. And it's like, even the fact that they have things like, there's a bit where they have like a fish bowl, and they make a fish bowl being filled with marbles cinematic. Like it means something, and like I think the science makes sense. And weirdly enough, for a film that's kind of about hard science, I feel it's one of Nolan's most like emotionally connected films. Like it, because sometimes it can be a bit removed. But anyway, speaking about the women not really having much to do or not being given much to do, Sean and I have done a lot of talking. Holly, what did you think?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
I'm always happy to, shout over the two. It's fine. I hugely enjoyed it. I thought it was superb. And I, again, thought that the women were interestingly multi-dimensional, though. I mean, a massive fail of the Bechdel test, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
That's taken as reg.
I think you pretty much knew that going into this film.
Yeah, I was there. There were no surprises there. In fact, I would have been surprised if it hadn't been the case, as I don't think there was a single point where two women spoke about.
No, there was
to each other.
I think the closest you get to a conversation between two women is a look.
Yes,
is a look while one of them is mounting a man.
There's a couple of moments where you have sort of an awareness.
Yes.
So let's assume that women do not feature heavily in the dialogue, but the dialogue that they do have is actually quite powerful.
Yes, it lands.
And that's repression's completely the wrong word. I don't know what the right word is, but it gave as much agency as could be given in the
yes.
So naturally they were,
I agree with that.
As individuals, as the actual women, they had actually a great deal of agency. I mean, Kitty Oppenheimer was fascinating.
Yes.
I was having done the obligatory reading on Wikipedia today, like, wow, that's just even beyond what I knew from the film.
I feel like the women, there's enough in there that you think makes you think you could do another film on each of these women.
Yeah, completely by themselves. You wouldn't need you wouldn't have needed other people's stories to make them interesting.
Jean Tatlock, that was it. Jean Tatlock.
Who was very interesting, and whose parents were academics. I didn't pick that.
Yeah. I think I read the same Wikipedia page. But
see what we spend our time doing. I thought it was superb. I really liked what was done with the sound. And
yes.
It took me until at least halfway through to figure out the complete lack of silence ever.
Oh, okay. So that when the silence actually comes.
Yeah, and there is all throughout it. There is a very low level, subtle rumbling in the background. Across the entire film. Hi, Daddy. And it varies. Hey, Kemi. And it's not massively, it's not obvious, but it's there. And in the quiet moments, you hear it. So until you have moments of actual silence, you've had no point where there hasn't been noise.
Yeah.
So it's quite. I mean, it's oppressive, but in an effective way.
Well, the thing is, I always think that Christopher Nolan, for him, sound is a big thing. Dialogue, not so much. Sound. And he does like doing oppressive sound in his films. Like, there's always this like, bah! Like Interstellar. Interstellar is just kind of like, it was trying to deafen you throughout the whole film. And in this one, I think it's the most effective one where that didn't sort of like totally overwhelm. Now, okay, but I want to... Holly, I know you want to keep going, but before I forget, and I feel I forget, one of the things is I actually know quite a bit about this story because there's a friend of mine, Pranav Mahajan, and he went to Imperial College with us, and he wrote a play called Destroyer of Worlds that was all about the Manhattan Project, and it was all about Oppenheimer, and it actually pretty much ended with the line, "Behold, I am become death, destroyer of worlds." And I was watching this going, I think Pranav might need to sue Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Because I think, Sean, you were saying everybody knows about this stuff. I didn't really know about this stuff until I saw Pranav's play. And I remember
I was just going to say, Toast, with that, there was actually, I don't know if it was the 70s, but I'm pretty
80s,
sure
the
there
80s
was
TV series.
TV series where that was the trailer for it. That was the little teaser that was I Have Become Death. That was the teaser for that's something I really remember.
Yeah,
so the 80s TV series, the teaser was I Have Become Death, Destroyer of Worlds. That was the hook.
Yeah.
But I find that I find all that side. I mean, I didn't want to go too much into the technical, but I mean, I love I know quite a lot. I know about barium atoms of hit, and what's released and all that. So and you've got fission and you've got fusion, and in it as well, they were talking about the hydrogen bomb, weren't they? Which is what more towards what Germany was developing more so than the nuclear bomb.
The atomic bomb,
So, and what you were saying about that was brilliant with the fish bowls, like you were saying, where he's putting in. So this is how much uranium we've made. This is how much plutonium, because the first one was uranium and the second one was plutonium.
Plutonium, yeah.
So like Batman and Little Boy, I think.
I really enjoyed the science of it as well, because it was
the science was good.
Going back to my roots, it had a comfortable familiarity.
You're like, I recognize those rooms.
Are you a scientist then, Ollie?
I'm not, but once upon a time might have been. Well,
do you know your periodic table and stuff?
I know my periodic table. I couldn't remember it off the top of my head. That's how Toasted and I know each other.
Yeah, we met while we were both studying chemical engineering.
Is that where you met?
That's where we met. Yeah, when we're studying chemical engineering at Imperial College in London, which would have been one of those universities that they might have nicked somebody from for the Manhattan Project. So
I'm just going to break it to you that it's about to be. Is it about to be 25 or is it 24 years that we've known each other now? We're coming up to 24 years.
We're coming up to 24 years.
No, I never knew that. I thought, Holly, I just thought you were someone who wrote in sometime as a London correspondent. That's the first thing. That is a total random surprise to me.
No, we have been friends for a very, very, very long time.
Yes, we have been, yeah.
Fresh-faced, enthusiastic.
I'm learning stuff all the time. It just shows you. You never take things.
You never know what you might find. But it had that because of that. It had that.
I think it had a bit of familiarity for anybody who's been around scientists that has been in this sort of situations. It had a bit of where it felt, yes, these feel like scientists.
Yeah.
And
reminder of a sort of almost a pilot plant whilst not being a pilot plant, obviously.
Yes,
I think
the first time when you meet Josh Hartnett, because we've forgotten Josh Hartnett is in this film.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God, Josh Hartnett! It's the first film I've ever seen that made me think, oh my God, he is actually quite tall. I've never noticed that Josh Hartnett is really tall before. Josh Hartnett shows up in this film, and the first scene you see Josh Hartnett in, I was thinking, yeah, that's the pilot plant. Sorry, Sean, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was just saying, I used to work with, I used to love her, Eddie Farr, her name was. She was a science teacher. She worked for ICI, I think. But anyway, but I just remember, and she was like nuts. She was your proper nutty scientist. It was like, and you could just go in there. She had she was quite old. I should imagine she's not around with us anymore. But anyway, she used to have long, massive grey hair, and it was like, and I go, oh, Edie, can you tell me about heavy water? And she goes, oh yes, that's uranium. That's like, and she would go off and just it was brilliant. It was, but really expressive.
I think coming out from her hair or pencils from the back of her hair or something.
She would have, she did actually.
You're making me think of Emma Thompson in the Harry Potter films.
Yes,
because
I'm not Harry Potter, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, they essentially model her on somebody like that, where she has this what we used to call Coke bottle glasses.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's but anyway, okay, so anyway, I was going to say
a trooper like Oppenheimer as well, and in the film, she used to go down by the squash courts to have cigarettes. She was and she must have been,
because we all know that you cannot come through with scientific breakthroughs without the help of tobacco.
Yes,
you just can't come through without it. Tobacco is needed in one shape or the other. But yeah, I was going to say, so Pranav, who read the play Destroyer of Worlds, he's the reason why I know as much as I do about this whole thing. And this film, I was watching it going, Oh, Pranav did that. Ooh, Pranav did that. Ooh, Pranav did that. I was like, oh my god! It's like the Christopher Nolan see brothers play. I guess it's history, but at the same time, there were some things where he had like even conversations with Oppenheimer and Einstein, and I just thought it was really really cool. And General Groves, who was played by Matt Damon, which oh yeah, Matt Damon's in the film. Sorry.
And I keep being surprised. I constantly am surprised that Matt Damon is actually a competent actor, because in my head he isn't.
Well, because you just keep thinking, Matt Damon.
Exactly. I think we're all
Team America's to blame for that, isn't it?
It really is.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Yeah, so but I thought I really really enjoyed the film. I thought it was great. I thought that, and I loved the whole how I think you could see Nolan using tricks he's used before, because if you've seen Memento, which was the first big film that Nolan was known for, they have this essentially. Memento has bits in black and white and has bits in color, and the black and white and the color thing, as the film is going along, you're figuring out why is one in black and white, why is one in color, and then there's a bit where they meet together, and the same thing happens in this, where I can't remember, I think it's fusion is in color. The two bits of the film are fusion and fission, and fusion is in color, fission is in black and white. And as it goes along, you start realizing this is what it means when it's in color. This is what it means when it's in black and white. And it sort of jumps around in time and everything. I just think it's just a very well put together film. And
that's just made me think. It's not wildly interesting, but mildly interesting point in terms of the black and white and color was Kitty Oppenheimer's very red lipstick.
Oh yeah,
which was actually quite sort of. It somehow made a really strong point from a visual perspective.
Yeah.
And they sort of hone in on this, on how both, so you got the colour, but you also got you were able to focus on the subtleties of what she was saying, which was some of the really clever bits with her. Then in the you'll know the bit towards the end in the
the bit,
just the presence that she has, and the way it was those subtleties in the colour and the use of the colour there that I found was actually really quite impressive as well.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Although there's one bit that I'm pretty sure it wasn't the screen and the cinema that I was watching it, but there's one bit in which I feel that they might have done a bit of, let's put it this way, Benny Safdie, who plays Edward Teller, I think that there was a day where he had some mustard on his shirt. Because there's a bit where they are in the courtroom. They're in the courtroom. That bit's black and white, and there's a shot that they have of him, and everything is black and white, apart from this faint yellow patch on his belly. And I was looking at that going, okay, Christopher Nolan is not far from Stanley Kubrick in terms of being obsessed with what you see on screen. So it is not likely that was just something that they missed. And now I'm like, oh, but I actually want to go. I think if I'm going to see this film again, I just want to go see it on another screen and see if there's this yellow mustard stain on somebody's shirt when it's supposed to be in black and white. But anyway, we've banged on about this for so long that I think today is just going to be a cinema special. We're not going to talk about Netflix. We're just going to talk about cinema today. And
Netflix.
Yeah, because quite frankly, I'm loving Barbenheimer. I think it's one of the best things to happen in cinema in a while. And I love the fact that it isn't a sequel, it isn't anything like that, and it isn't James Cameron telling us that you will like this, go to the cinema and watch it. So I love the fact about it, and I love the fact that Oppenheimer, I think, it's a bit of a swing, because to do a film about a scientist talking about science for 3 hours, to have and figure out a way of making it cinematic and figure out a way of marketing it so that everybody wants to go see this film, I just think it's brilliant. I just think what they've done is brilliant, and crucially, they remembered to make a good film.
A friend of mine observed, though, that she was, having not been interested in Barbenheimer at all, is that she had no interest in watching the commercialization of mass murder, which I thought was quite an interesting. Yeah. I liked her phraseology there, and I can very much see the point.
Yeah, well, because that was something I was. Hello, Sharon. Sharon has made it off a ferry. She's made it off a ferry. She's made it on. Yeah.
It's what you call island life. So sorry, I'm trying to. That's it. The light's better there.
You've come at the right time for thoughts on Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer. Yes, I thought it was intense, focused.
Yep.
Masterly crafted.
Yep.
I think the performances were spot on, note perfect. I think it's the best Emily Blunt has been for years. And I think it basically is Cillian Murphy's probably standout role for him.
Yep. Yeah, I think we've all said that. We've all said that. Because
blown away.
Yeah.
Oscar, I reckon.
Sorry,
I think that the
sitting on my
films.
bed.
I think Oppenheimer might be the front runner for the Best Picture Oscar now. I think it's probably the front runner for the Oscars, full stop, at the moment. But yeah, you were talking about the commercialization of mass murder, and I thought that the fact that they didn't lose sight of that, the fact is that in the film that they had this whole thing, which I mean, having hung around scientists, I know it is true that they get really, really into, oh my God, we can do this. And it's only later that they go, hang on a second, what are people going to do with this?
Just because we can, should we do it? But...
Yeah. And I thought that this was one of the best things I've seen in film of addressing that whole thing where scientists are like, we can do this, and then afterwards realizing, oh crap, what have we done? And I think that they did that really well of because it's
realization.
Yeah, the point of realization and the fact that and showing how this ripples through because the film doesn't just go, we built the atomic bomb, yay, USA, we've done it, and then the film ends. It doesn't do that. It shows the aftermath of what happens and what happens almost psychologically to realize, crap, I did this.
It did have the thing in it that I absolutely hate, and I know I've raised before, but I think they dealt with it relatively well. It's a particular Americanization of the USA, we're going to celebrate something awful.
Yes.
Whereas it's like the celebrating the death of Bin Laden. I find that
it's repulsive.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, and this is where I feel like they did a very good job. Is okay because it's history. It's no spoiler to say that they actually built a bomb and it worked.
Yes.
And that they tested it, first of all, the Trinity test scene, the whole film kind of like builds up to that Trinity test scene. And when they have the Trinity test, but when they test it, there's a bit where you can see people are like, yeah, we did it. And you can understand that it's just a whole bunch of scientists who are really, really happy because what they've been working on for 3 years has worked. And in that moment, that's like a point where you can almost see that they haven't clicked that this is going to be used on people. that all they are celebrating is this massive achievement that we have just done, which means that we have managed to split an atom. We've managed to do something that nobody thought was possible, that we didn't even know whether it was going to work or not until we hit that button. Then we knew, oh my God, it works. We've managed to do something. And I think it's kind of like there's a difference between the celebration when they test the bomb and the celebration when the bomb is used. And I feel like there's a difference between, and I think, well, as you can see, we've been talking about this film for almost like 40 minutes, and I think I feel we could talk about this film for a much longer period. Sharon, we've decided that today we're not doing any Netflix. We've decided that cinema has won because of the Barbenheimer thing. Cinema has shown what only cinema can do.
Nothing compares to that.
No, I don't.
Have you discussed about the music in Oppenheimer? Because I wasn't sure. There's moments where it becomes almost unbearable, where it becomes like an extra character in a scene, where I could just feel it. And I was trying to sort of break down what I think the music was, whether it is the sound of the bomb or the ticking of the clock or the countdown to it. But there's all these elements where you can feel them just pressing you.
That's exactly that. And there's constant noise throughout it. There's no silence until the one moment where there is silence.
Yes.
It's
this intensity, and then it sort of, you suddenly go, why am I feeling tense? When it's because you've got this constant sensory overload almost, haven't you? And I wasn't sure, what other sounds am I hearing? Is it fire? Is it just a ticking clock? Is it the sounds that an atom makes when it's breaking down or being collided, or whatever they do with these atoms? Fission, fusion. But I found the music was quite an intense experience. Adds to that intensity of the experience, which I think you can only get in a cinema. I don't think you could replicate that in any way at home, because you're never in that.
No, without a lot of money.
Sound, you're never going to be able to have that intensity of sound that just engulfs you, as a way that sort of the whole bomb engulfs the world that post nuclear weapons.
I'll be interested to watch it when it comes out on streaming, where I think one will have to do it in a completely darkened room as well. I don't think you could watch it with your with your curtains open.
Okay, all right, cool. So, I don't think we have done Oppenheimer justice, quite frankly, but we do need to move on because we do need to